Boss Hogg's nephew rolls into Hazard County determined to rip off his uncle and the Duke boys. The Dukes of Hazard is coming up after Gamer TV. Coming up in today's show, spandex, blood, sweat and possibly some tears. Check out WWE Raw.
Competitors have studied each other very carefully.
Can Toka 3 become the leader of the racing game pack? Samurai action with the Devil Kings.
Time. My horse.
Hello, I'm Sam Delaney and this is Gamer TV Next Gen, just about the only show left on television right now that won't make over your home, show you live plastic surgery, or force you to watch an obscure television presenter eat animal excrement for your entertainment. Although, to be honest, I'm not going to rule that last one out just yet. What we can definitely show you though is a brilliantly insightful review of AMP 3 on the Xbox 360. Here it is.
Roger that. Mitch here. You want to know my funny?
You got a bunch of kids headed your way.
Cast your mind back to 2001. The Xbox had just been unleashed, heralding Microsoft's entry into the console arena. A new snowboarding game called Amped came along for the ride. Its realistic approach to the coolest of winter sports was a fine showcase for Xbox's capabilities. Now we're all a few years older and perhaps a little wiser. A successor to the Green Machine has arrived with the Xbox 360, and guess what? AMP 3, the latest edition, has come sliding down the mountainside with the first wave of games.
Nail it!
In the story mode, you assume the role of an unnamed boy or girl boarder. They can be personalised by changing their hairdos, inking their flesh with tattoos, and dressing them in a variety of officially licensed clobber. Once they look suitably radical, they're ready to become part of a crew of snowboarding oddballs.
Hey guys, since we're all here, I was counting our cash last night. We've got about $5 grand. So if we're going to Chile, that gives us about a month.
Your pals are trying to raise cash for an expedition to the slopes of Chile. As you complete challenges and earn more funds, you'll also open up other areas of the mountain to explore.
This will make you famous, dude. Okay, I'm ready.
Amped veterans will no doubt be surprised to see the boarder here decked out in a pink bunny costume. Hardly the most appropriate outfit for a series that has become known for its simulation style. On the whole, the visuals are nice, but they don't fully push the 360's capabilities. There's been a change of direction for this third edition, moving away from technical realism and into a colourful cartoon style, more like EA's wacky SSX games. Controls have also been made simpler, which distances this game from its unforgiving sim roots even further. This is bound to appeal to more casual gamers, whereas seasoned snowboarders may find it treats their beloved sport too lightly. The 360, snowboarding and a brilliant soundtrack should be a recipe for a decent game, right? But has AMP 3 careered off-piste? We'll let the scores be the judge of that. We'll give Amped 3 out of 5.
Brilliant. AMP 3 gives you everything the armchair thrill seeker could wish for, other than some biscuits, a specialist magazine, and our mum to leave us in privacy for half an hour.
Sweet, you did it. Let's ride and celebrate the awesomeness emanating from thy buttocks.
After 2 years, Codemasters Racing Series Toka is back, and this time around, realism was on the top of the developers' wish list.
The physics we have now on Race Driver 3 is by far the most complex that we've ever designed. There are something over 300 or 400 different physics parameters that the designers can actually use to tune the car.
The physics model itself is actually relatively straightforward to put together in that you're copying real-world physical models. I think the difficulty comes in when you actually look at the different racing styles, because that's when subjectivity plays a part. Everyone has a different opinion on how a different car should race. And the way we've gotten around that is to actually talk to the racing drivers who take part in these series.
For example, with the Formula 3 team, the guys at Alan Docking Racing, they'd pull off telemetry data for us. So the car would be there with them at Silverstone, the car would come into the pits, they'd plug a laptop into the car, and they would pull off the telemetry data for us, so that when we go back to the studio and we race the Formula 3 car around the track, we can compare our own telemetry data to the telemetry data of the actual race car. So that's how far we'll go to make sure the car's as realistic as possible. The vast majority of cars we've got for this game are race spec cars. So what we've done is we've taken licenses from championships or from teams and licensed the actual race spec car as opposed to the road cars. A lot of other driving games you get to drive road cars on tracks, but in Race Driver 3 you're actually racing fully race prepared cars on racetracks.
Many other games don't feature damage, and I think there are two reasons for this. That there can be problems from a licensing point of view. Many car manufacturers don't want to see their cars getting smashed up. That's becoming less of an issue now. But also just the production time it takes to actually model damage. It costs a lot more money to do that. But I think that's another thing that puts some companies off from doing that. Everything in the car can fall off or break or damage. Bumpers will fly off. The chassis can twist. Glass will smash where you've got glass in the cars. Plastic will rip and shred. There's a central section of the car, the little area where the driver sits, and that's the only safe area. Everything around the car up to that point will squash, as it does in real life.
We've watched hours and hours and hours of DVDs of watching the type of racing and the characteristics of that type of racing. So when you're playing the game, when you're racing touring cars, you're going to see a lot of bumper, very close action, cars rubbing up against each other all the time. In open wheel racing, because the cars are much more fragile, the drivers always have to keep that little bit of distance between themselves, and that's completely reflected in the game. So with all the different types of racing in the game, there's also a wide range of different types of AI and close racing as well.
TOCA 3 returns to the track in February 06.
Stay tuned to Gamer TV Next Gen, because in a little bit we'll be giving you the chance to win some brilliant prizes that will render your friends so jealous they'll probably end up hating you. And it'll be worth it.
Next up, flicking the nose of the games industry and running away laughing. This is Spam Filter. In an effort to seem hip and down with the kids, Sony has been left with egg on its face. To promote their handheld, the PSP in the States, Sony have paid a select group of property owners to daub PSP-branded graffiti on their walls. Real graffiti artists have taken umbrage to this and have vandalised the corporate graffiti. It's full steam ahead for the Halo movie. While promoting blockbuster King Kong, Peter Jackson confirmed pre-production on the game adaptation was already underway. While Jackson has undertaken executive producing duties on the film, a director has yet to be announced. Rumours are flying around Hollywood, though, that Guillermo del Toro is in line for the job. His past experience on genre flicks Blade 2 and Hellboy has made him odds-on favourite for the role. After reports that some Xbox 360s have suffered a variety of faults, including overheating power supplies and weird error messages, a US consumer has decided to take matters into his own hands. He's dealing with the problem in a typically American fashion, by suing Microsoft. A class action suit has been filed for undisclosed damages against Microsoft and a call for the recall of the new console. Microsoft have hit back with this statement that there have been a few isolated reports of consoles not working properly, and that it related to a very, very small fraction of the total shipment.
Nobody's innocent. Justice? It's an illusion.
You're telling me? I still get shivers thinking of the time the school bully froze my nipple with an ice lolly. That's true suffering. You can forget life on the streets. If this game will let you, that is. Urban Reign is a forthcoming beat-em-up developed by Namco, and appropriately enough, it's pretty old school too. Think Streets of Rage, think Double Dragon, and then think about adding layer upon layer of really quite unnecessary violence. Over several levels of urban crime, our hero will be hitting villains until they beg for mercy, and then ignoring them and hitting them some more. Just because vigilante Brad Falk is built like a telephone box, it doesn't mean he's not graceful. Some of the moves in the game will be physically impressive, others physically impossible. As well as the expected punches and kicks, there'll be a whole series of grapple moves. Be warned though, the enemy will be able to use them too, and they look extremely painful. It's all a bit of a risk, to be honest. We've only played the preview version, but in this age of Grand Theft Auto and consoles that can steer comets, an old-fashioned thumping game is likely to split the punters. Still, you can always rely on us for a fair, objective review. The game's due out next February, so expect one before then.
Never ever try to consume a whole concentrated lump of Gamer TV Next Gen in one go. Your liver will explode. That is why we divide it into 2 easily digestible morsels. And while you wait for part 1 to go down, we'll put the finishing touches to part 2. See you after the break.
Still to come, sniff my spandex in WWE. Weirdness aplenty with the Devil Kings. And Tony Hawk takes us on a tour of LA via his American wasteland. That's all after the break.
Wow, that was awesome!
Back to Gamer TV Next Gen. First up, a game about a young country lad who moves all the way to Los Angeles to fulfill his grand ambition of rolling around on a bit of wood attached to some wheels. Takes all sorts, doesn't it?
Hey, this is Tony Hawk. You were listening to Demolition Radio on Sirius Satellite Radio.
He was already an icon in skateboarding circles thanks to his gravity-defying skills on the half-pipe. Then, in 1999, Activision started to roll out a series of games stamped with Tony Hawk's official seal of approval, and he became the face of a gaming phenomenon. About as quickly as it had disappeared from our shop shelves, the Xbox 360 has already has its own version of the latest chapter as part of its launch lineup, Tony Hawk's American Wasteland. The prospect of seeing what long-term developers Neversoft could achieve with their tried and tested gameplay mechanics, plus the power of Microsoft's fancy new system, was mouth-watering. Would we be treated to a dramatic leap in visual quality like we saw when the series made the jump from PlayStation to PS2? Well, you can mop up that little puddle of drool because unfortunately that hasn't turned out to be the case. If you hook the console up to a monitor with a VGA lead or can afford to shell out for a high-definition set, you'll get a sharper image, which also allows you to see fairly superficial upgrades to the textures.
Oh, check you out. New clothes, new look.
On a standard telly though, this is pretty much identical to the Xbox and PS2 versions, which is a shame, but not a total tragedy because American Wasteland is still a cracking game.
Wow, that was awesome!
Well, it's a polished skater, but frankly we've seen it all before on lesser formats, so what's this new version got to distinguish itself from the Skater Boy pack?
Considering that Tony's arrival into the next generation could have really pushed the series forward, this gets a 3 out of 5.
Ladies and gentlemen, gentlemen, welcome to the first week of the WWE Legends World Tour. By now, if they hadn't, JR.
Despite being nothing more than a stage scrap between steroid-fueled meatheads with a taste for tragic haircuts and luminous skin-tight lycra, American-style wrestling is still an extremely popular spectator sport.
I tell you, JR, this one has the potential to be a Match of the Year candidate.
As long as that remains the case, games based on wrestling will keep coming. But that's okay, because on the whole, they tend to be fairly entertaining, especially THQ's SmackDown series, the latest of which has just jumped into the ring, entitled WWE SmackDown vs. Raw 2006. Last year's edition, Here Comes the Pain, pushed the aging PS2 hardware to new heights. This latest game keeps up the series' impressive level of technical performance.
So without further ado, let's show Boise why Raw is the greatest brand in sports entertainment.
The muscle-bound character models are so hulkingly big, at times they almost fill the entire screen.
What's going on, JR?
And the way matches are presented is just like watching the wrestling on TV, with all the showmanship and amateur dramatics thrown in for good measure. In the career mode, you choose a wrestler and guide them through a wrestling world tour. The ultimate aim is to help them prove themselves as an all-time legend. Lots of the WWE's actual stars have lent their vocal talents here, and as you'd expect, their delivery isn't exactly up to Royal Shakespeare Company standards, which probably makes it even more enjoyable.
You're probably right, but just the same, I'm not interested.
The range of wrestlers, events and scenario options on offer is extremely comprehensive. There's even an online mode.
Jim Ross here with Jerry the King Lawler.
Body slams, double suplexes, beards, man breasts. Yep, WWE seems to have it all, but has it got enough to make our scores tap out in submission?
And folks, let me
We'll smack this one down with a 4 out of 5.
Put on a leotard, beat your chest and play out an unconvincing preamble to a big silly fight. This is great and it's got it all, apart from giant haystacks, that is.
good distance.
We have entered a new age of gaming. The next generation of gaming is upon us. It means CPUs running a triple core of 3.2 GHz processors, general memory bandwidth of 5.4 GHz with 21.6 GB per second on the front side bus connecting the CPU and the GPU. And what does that all mean? Blinking impressive gaming. That's what it means. So to demonstrate the power of these super machines, here is Gamer's Guide to the 3 things that define next generation gaming. At 3, it's all about humans.
One of the greatest things about the Xbox 360 and the next generation consoles is that they're going to be able to give you so much more detail to human characters. A great example of that is Electronic Arts' basketball game, NBA Live 06. Just a continuation of the NBA Live series, but because it's moved on to next gen, what they've been able to do is put so much more character into the character models themselves.
The next gen machines just allow an incredible amount of extra new detail. It's not just sort of looking realistic, it's acting realistically.
When you see it the most is when 2 players, for instance, go up, one goes up for a dunk, the defender goes up to try and block the dunk. And the way the bodies clash with each other and bounce off each other looks so realistic now. And that's one of the really great things about the next generation of consoles and the Xbox 360, is that we can do that now. Human beings look like human beings.
At 2, physics. It is a science,
Project Gotham Racing 3 for me is the pick of the launch titles for the Xbox 360. Probably more than any other launch game, it gives an insight into what the machine is going to be capable of. The modelling of the cars, both outside and inside, is just incredible. And it's not just the cars. In typical fashion, Bizarre Creations decided it was going to accurately model huge swathes of London, New York and Las Vegas.
People said they were fake. They said you can't do this, it's too realistic, it looks too much like London, Tokyo and some of the other cities in the game. And Bizarre Creations said, no, they're not fake, we can do this. And now that the game's out, we can see that, you know, they weren't lying. Just that detail on the visuals, if we take the cars in particular, the way the reflections move across the cars, the way the environment is reflected in the bodywork of the cars, and that's all updated real time. That was never possible before. It's only the power of the next generation consoles that allow the developers to chuck all that computational mathematics at it at once. It can chug it all and put it on the screen there for you. It looks amazing.
And at 1, well, it's all kicking off.
Call of Duty 2 on Xbox 360 probably is as close as you ever want to get to fighting in a real war.
Listen up! Men on the beaches are counting on us to take out the coastal guns on those cliffs!
It's a really stunning game, Call of Duty 2, which again, for such an early game in a development of the Xbox 360, makes really good use of the underbonnet power.
We're nearly back into town, sir. Jerry tanks have been spotted advancing on our positions to the east.
A good example of that in Call of Duty 2 is the Point to Hawk mission, which is one of the D-Day landings onto one of the beaches in France. So getting off that landing craft, getting onto the beach, ducking and diving, trying to avoid all the fire that's coming from the entrenched Germans, and then hitting this cliff wall and realising that you've got to scale this huge cliff in front of you. It really is a scary experience, but you know, thank goodness it's a game and we can really enjoy that kind of experience.
OK, now it's time for this week's competition. Our friends at Joytech and 2K Games have given us a brand new Xbox 360 to give away, alongside a copy of AMP 3, 2 great Joytech Neo SE controllers, a communicator headset and a sexy black faceplate. If you want to win the lot, all you have to do is answer this question. What is the tallest mountain in the world? Is it A, Ben Nevis, B, Kilimanjaro or C, Everest? To enter, phone our competition hotline on 09014 900 320. Calls cost 50p. You must be over 18 to enter. For full terms and conditions, go to www.bravo.co.uk. Lines will close midnight, December 27th.
Stop crying like a big girl. The show's nearly over, but don't worry, there's still a tiny bit of gaming marrow to suck from the bone.
My lord!
It's just like my mum always told me, never hug a samurai when he's angry. If you think that punch was hard, wait for the rest of the game to kick in. Devil Kings is on its way from Capcom and looks like it's going to uphold the great Japanese traditions of shouting, huge self-indulgent battles and ridiculous romantic interludes.
I have come a long way for this.
Then you have found me.
There'll be a handful of generals to pick from in the game, all exotic, all psychotic. Their job will be to lead an army into battle, but it's fairly liberal definition of the word lead, as most of the friendly troops either hide or simply stand around. But it's the special moves you want to see, isn't it? Yes, they're big and bold and seem to eliminate the entire populations of towns with a single button press. However, each character will have their own unique abilities too. They range from riding on a bird to being handy with a pistol. There'll also be a horse, for horse lovers.
Go get 'em, guys!
We can't help wishing these types of games were developed 2 at a time, with each team trying to outdo each other in the outlandish department. Devil Kings looks like it's going to do okay though. The scraps are very flashy and most of the villains are strangely effeminate.
My men are being slaughtered. Someone destroy quickly now!
The game will be out sometime next year. If you want to prepare for it, try watching Akira on fast forward while banging yourself over the head with a tin tray. Works every time. Right, my mum's calling me in for my tea and I hope it's fish fingers. Join us next time for more Gamer TV.
Talks.